Okay. Welcome to the virtual public meeting of July 27, 2021 for the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board. We are going to spend the next few minutes going over the technology that is being used during the meeting today so that we can all start today's meeting with the correct understanding. A summary of the interaction methods can be found on today's agenda, which can also be found on the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board website, and that is energysafety.ca.gov/who-we-r/wildfire/safety/advisory/board. The meeting will be live broadcast via Zoom, and as you should have gotten a notice when you signed into the Zoom meeting that this meeting will be recorded. To interact with the board during the meeting, you can call in or use the raise hand function of the Zoom. To join the meeting via phone, call 214-765-0479, or for a toll-free number, call 888-278-0296, and the passcode is 596019. When you join the call, you will be in listen-only mode. Once the public comment portion of the meeting begins, participants on the phone can dial pound or #2 when they wish to speak to be placed in the queue by the operator. And if you join the meeting via Zoom, please use the raised hand function on the Zoom video conference to be able to make public comment. We may limit the time to 4 minutes. Public comment will also be received in the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board email inbox, and the email address is wsab@energysafety.ca.gov. Comments received here will be read into the record if they can be read in under 4 minutes. All comments received will be posted to the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board website after the meeting. Vice Chair Feldman.
Good afternoon and welcome to all the my fellow board members and all of you who are participating today. This is our first official meeting as part of the California Natural Resources Agency. And I want to thank the agency for hosting us today. James Pierce is providing technical support, and our transition so far has been smooth, and we are looking forward to further being incorporated into the resources agency's functioning. Today, we are going to call to order our board meeting for July 27th, 2021. This is the 4th meeting of the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board for this year. My name is Diane Fellman. I am vice chair of this meeting, and I'm vice chair of the board, and I'm going to be chairing this meeting today. I want to now turn the meeting over to our advisor, Leah Haro, who is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Vice Chair Fellman. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now I'll turn the meeting over to Catherine Stockton for our safety moment.
Thank you. I'd like just to take a moment to take a deep breath and try to be present here today at this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. We are doing our best to make this virtual meeting as accessible as possible. All the information about this meeting can be found on the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board's website. The Office of Infrastructure Safety's homepage is https:// www.wildfiresafety@ca.gov/. To get to the board's website, scroll down and click Wildfire Safety Advisory Board. Next slide. Or you can go to the homepage and hover over the tab, Who We Are, and then click on Wildfire Safety Advisory Board. Next slide. Then scroll to Events and Meetings and click on today's meeting. Next slide. There you will find the links to all the documents that we will be discussing today. These documents include the agenda for today's meeting, the minutes from the June 28th meeting, and today's PowerPoint presentation that will be running during this meeting. I now turn the meeting back over to Vice Chair Feldman.
Thank you, Ms. Haro. I'm going to take a minute to go over today's agenda. We're going to start with opening comment. Then we're going to review the minutes and adopt them from our June 28th meeting where we talked about our recommendations. The heart of today's meeting, public meeting, is going to be a discussion led by Board Member Porter on the approach to the POU wildfire mitigation plan updates and how we are going to be reviewing those for 2021. We'll go over a few administrative matters, and then we are going to adjourn at approximately 2 p.m. to go into closed session to discuss personnel matters. Let's now move to the telephone lines and initiate the public comment process. I'm going to ask Catherine Stockton to assist me in this. And we're going to start with the phone. If you join the meeting via phone, you can now dial, and here's the information, you can now dial #2 when you wish to speak, and you will be placed in a queue by the operator. If you join the meeting via Zoom, please use the raise hand function on the Zoom video conference, and you will be added to the public comment queue and called upon during the meeting by the vice chair. As Catherine Stockton said, we may limit time to 4 minutes, and I'm going to ask either Ms. Stockton or Mr. Pierce to cue me if a hand is raised, since I do not have access to the full gallery view, and we have many participants today. James, can the folks use the raise hand function now?
Yeah, there's a number of people that have their hands raised currently. I'll start with Nancy Macy and allow her to talk. Nancy, you should be able to unmute yourself.
There we go. Good morning. I'm Nancy Macy, and I've had the pleasure of attending a number of your Wildfire Safety Advisory Board meetings, and I just want to comment that I think the attitude and effort by members of the board to be thorough and comprehensive and to really want to understand all the issues is remarkable and honorable, and many thanks. I am chair of the Valley Women's Club's Environmental Committee for the San Lorenzo Valley. So I'm in the coastal mountains. We are dealing with the post-CZU fire. And but what I wanted to talk to you about today was to thank you for your recommendations regarding PG&E, especially the risk modeling, safety culture, and PSPS issues. They directly relate to the fact that PG&E is still focusing on enhanced vegetation management to provide safety from wildfires. And while we respect that they are doing things like adding cameras, improving the smart meters, and making other efforts to speed up response, it's useful, but it's responding to wildfires rather than preventing them. And when they're only planning to harden 180 miles of distribution line in high fire threat areas in 2021, that's a ridiculously low amount. We all know that they can, and they, in their own update or the revised version of June this year, they can only hope for a maximum of 35% success in reducing wildfires. And we want to point out that Southern California Edison is doing something totally different, far more exciting and far more productive. And they got approval for this plan in 2017. At the same time, the CPUC approved the enhanced vegetation management of PG&E. And what's remarkable to me is that the Southern California Edison process is actually proving successful while PG&E's is not. And that is hugely important. And I hope that the committee can continue to address this issue. The wildfire covered conductor program that Southern California Edison initiated is so superior. It has resulted in replacement of hundreds of distribution circuit miles, eliminating a dangerous, antiquated system and providing significant improvement in safety and reliability. Their update, which came out in February this year, includes clear proof that this modernization program is actually providing protection from at least 90% of wildfire ignition drivers. So we are thrilled at that for them, and wish we had the same thing going on in PG&E. So another piece of that is that the cost of per mile of their program is less than the cost of the vegetation management program of PG&E. And that is another thing to consider. With a majority of PG&E's distribution and transmission circuits now in their 7th and 8th decades, there is no risk spend efficiency calculation that can justify enhanced vegetation management as an adequate pathway to a wildfire safety system. And we are hoping that you will remind the CPC of that and suggest that you will push for the Wildfire Safety Division to look at the CPUC's infrastructure regulations and get them modernized. I appreciate the chance for the opportunity to speak, and we'll listen to the rest of the meeting with great interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Macy. You are one of our public commenters that has been very, I guess, James, you'll control the time. You've been very active, and we really appreciate it, because public comment is essential to helping us do our job in providing recommendations on the improvements to the wildfire mitigation plans of the investor-owned and publicly owned utilities. May we have the next speaker, please?
Yeah, Philip Charlton, I'm allowing you to speak right now. You should be able to unmute yourself. Philip, you should be able to unmute yourself now if you want to make public comment. Your hand is raised. It looks like Philip isn't unmuting himself at this point in time. Do you want to move to the next caller?
Yes, please.
The next caller is a dial-in user from the last 4 digits of their number, 6337. If you can announce your name, I'm allowing you to talk. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
This is Robin McCollum in Chico, California. Just down the hill from the campfire in Paradise. We're in an emergency, and I consider what's going on as bureaucratic dithering, which will be judged harshly by history. How many million acres will be burned this summer, and what large component of that will be utility ignitions? We need to act swiftly, decisively, as if we were going to a fire like the fire department, where we will execute the most pragmatic and direct approach to put the fire out. That approach, as proven by Southern California Edison, as mentioned by the previous speaker, is to harden the wires, to insulate and circuit protect the distribution system, just as we have it in our homes, and why not? And to do away with the expulsive fuses that PG&E has, that they've long been tasked to remove and replace, but have not. The responsibility falls to you folks to make sure that this is urgent. and treated urgently by the CPUC. PG&E's recent announcement of undergrounding of 10,000 miles, only 40% of the high fire threat district in 10 years, is way too slow and way too expensive, a burden falling on the ratepayers who already are burdened by the highest rates in the country, plus the threat and the cost and damage, lives lost, wildlife burned alive, watersheds burned up, forests gone. The character of California radically changed. And in the 10 years they expect to do their partial hard undergrounding, we will have lost most of our forests if we don't act more swiftly. You people must be sure to be in touch with the reality here and not in a dreamland of Kafkaesque bureaucracy. Thank you.
Thank you. May we please have the next commenter and a restart of the clock?
Yes, the next caller is Kevin Collins. You should be able to unmute yourself now, Kevin.
Yes, so hopefully I'm audible.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. My first commission proceeding that I observed was the utility wildfire ignition risk map development that was adopted by the commission in December of 2017. And that was the first error made by the commission when it exempted itself illegally, in my view, from California Environmental Quality Act review. They made a recommendation or a guideline that set off the enhanced vegetation management process. And in any case, you know, previous callers have pointed out the weakness of this strategy, but I wanted to make clear that I've been following this process since before 2017. In 2018, I filed an adjudicatory complaint with the commission having to do with downed energized conductors arcing to earth. These were high impedance arc faults. This occurred twice in front of my home, fortunately in the wintertime, but there were major electrocution hazards there. In one case, it took the utility PG&E 24 hours to de-energize that arcing line. It actually stayed sparking for 24 hours. At that point, I'd had enough and I filed a complaint, and I sought as relief a proceeding to update General Order 95. I've reviewed that rule set extensively, and it's remarkably out of date. When the legislature adopted AB 1054 and SB 901, it was obvious they didn't understand the PUC or how it works and how reluctant the commission is to get straight to the bottom of the issue. I used to be a general contractor, and the building code, the Uniform Building Code, is the reason we have safe residences in the United States and in California. There's no substitute for a building code, and that's really what General Order 95 is essentially a circuit building code. It's amazingly out of date. There are provisions in there that, for example, state that it's at the utility's discretion to update a circuit built before 1941. I'm not making this up. Some of you must have reviewed this rule set yourselves. It's obvious that insulated cable, strong insulated cable, and especially spacer cable would be a massive improvement in wildfire safety. This kind of conductors can be driven to the ground without causing a fire ignition. There are many, a previous caller mentioned the expulsion fuses. I think the recent fire now blazing near the campfire was ignited by expulsion fuses, which were called out years ago by CAL FIRE as a fire risk. But they're all over the place in PG&E's service area, waiting to throw out hot metal onto the ground when they trip. And, you know, this is ridiculous. We have all kinds of solutions. climate change is racing ahead of California's adaptation. It was 115 degrees in British Columbia in late June. And I appreciate the efforts made by your advisory board to this point. And I hope they continue and get straight to the heart of the matter, which is the code, the building code for electrical circuits. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
We can return to Kevin Collins, or not Kevin, but Philip Charlton, and see if he can unmute himself now. Philip, can you unmute yourself now and make comment? It looks like he still can't unmute himself, so I'll lower his hand, and he's the last hand raised currently.
All right, thank you very much to all the public speakers and Mr. Pierce for wrangling them. I just wanted to inquire if any of the board members would like to respond to the public comment before we move on to the emails, but to the verbal public comments. And if you raise your hand, I figured out a way that I can see that your hand's raised, so I can call on you. All right, board member Block.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you to the public commenters. Just to echo what Vice Chair Feldman said earlier, we really appreciate you attending and sharing with us your experiences and your thoughts, and it really helps us do our jobs here at the board. So thank you, and please continue to come.
All right, I'm now going to turn to Ms. Stockton and see if there are any.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Vice Chair Feldman. I haven't been able to figure out how to raise my hand in this meeting.
All right, no, this is, you're fine.
I wanted to respond in part to Mr. Collins and note that one of our recommendations was to catalog that the Wildfire Safety Division should require as part of the WMP guidelines that they should require the utilities to catalog assets that are, as we called them, exempt from GO 95, and evaluate those assets for the risks that they pose and develop plans to mitigate those risks. So we share that concern, Mr. Collins, and made a recommendation in a hope that we can remediate that risk.
Thank you. Are there any other board members who would like to make comments on the speakers so far? If not, I'm going to turn to Ms. Stockton to let us know if there have been any email comments through our mailbox.
So we got one email from Robert McCullum, but he spoke publicly already. So I'll distribute this email and post it to we'll post it to the website. And then I do see Dan Courtney has his hand raised. I don't know if you would like to give him an opportunity.
Absolutely. Mr. Pierce, can we have Dan Courtney speak?
Dan, you should be able to unmute yourself now. Dan? It appears as if he has unmuted himself, but I can't hear him currently.
Dan, if you cannot unmute yourself, please send us an email to our mailbox, which is up on the screen, wsb@energysafety.ca.gov, and we will incorporate your comments into the the formal meeting minutes of this session. So Dan, one more time. Hearing no response, we will now move to the next agenda item. I want to again thank all the public commenters for not only your comments, but your perseverance, since we are doing some new, we're on a new platform here in even though it's been 18 months since the start of zooming around, there's always some challenges and something new to learn. So thank you. We'll move to the next topic on the agenda, which is voting on the meeting minutes. They can be found on the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board website. I hope that everyone has had a chance to review these from our June 28th meeting. Are there any edits or additions to these minutes? Hearing and seeing no changes, I would like someone to then move for a vote to adopt the meeting minutes, and we will do so by roll call. Board
Vice Chair
member.
Feldman, I'll move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Is there a second? I see Board Member Porter raising his hand.
I second that.
We will not. And I should note for the record that Board Member Seifert is absent at this meeting, and she has an excused absence. So we miss her, and we look forward to seeing her next time. As you recall, for purposes of Bagley-Keene, we need to do a roll call, as I just mentioned. So Ms. Stockton, will you please call the roll?
Oh, sure. Board Member Block,
Aye.
Board Member Armstrong,
Aye.
Board Member Mader,
Aye.
Board Member Porter,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Feldman.
Aye. Thank you
That's
for that vote.
5-0.
5-0. Thank you. Now we will turn to the next item on the agenda. Thank you. And this is going to be the approach to our review, our 2021 review of the publicly owned utilities. Mr. Pierce, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Board Member Porter, and could you please put us back into gallery view? Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Feldman. To let you guys know, this is my favorite topic and responsibility of this board. It's near and dear to me because ultimately it impacts many of the linemen and groundmen and apprentices that I represent in my day job in Southern California. But before we start to discuss what approach we're going to take in examining the updates of the POUs and co-op WMPs, I'd like to hand it off or over to our advisor, Catherine Stockton, to update us on how many POU WMP updates we've received. Catherine?
Sure. Hi. So last year we received 50 plans, and we expect to receive the same amount this year. So out of those 50, we have received 46 wildfire mitigation plans. 3 of the 46 didn't upload the plans to the new e-filing system. And then there were 4 plans that we haven't received. 2 of the 4 plans, they have reached out to us for extensions. So really that just leaves 2 for us to reach out to and see what's going on. But that's a pretty good shape, 46 out of 50.
Thank you, Ms. Stockton. Now, I'd like to discuss briefly what we've been thinking about regarding our approach to the board's review of the POUs and co-ops and their updates to their mitigation plans. So I've been working with a newly formed BK examining the POUs with board member Armstrong. We'd like to invite an additional member. If anyone's interested, please definitely contact myself or get a hold of one of our advisors, for the time being, Leah Haro or Catherine Stockton. So we'll be embarking again on reviewing the updates to the submittals from last year. And this is going to be our next project. It's a big project as we saw from last year. And our intent in this will be to create individualized advisory opinions. But there are a lot of caveats to doing this because we are transitioning, and it will depend on who our newer advisors will be, how large our staff will be, and on top of that, new members to this board. Our initial ideas in the smaller BK that we have is to develop a simple document that we will give to each POU that will chronicle their strengths from each plan and where they can improve from their updates. We'll be reviewing these updates against our guidance advisory opinion from last year and the plan itself submitted by each POU. We're hoping it will be possible for each POU or cooperative, and we send this invitation out to them to submit a red line version of their submittals or an executive summary from last year, documenting the changes. We're also asking the POUs to submit these red lines if they're going to do so, or these summaries, to the e-filing system under POU docket. So with that, are there any comments from the board members?
I have a comment. I wanted to thank you, Board Member Porter, for taking the lead on this. I will comment further on this later, but this is going to be my last public meeting since my term has expired and I'm not seeking reappointment. And we no longer have Chair Edwards as a board member since her term also expired, and we are really missing that dimension of the publicly owned utility and cooperative lens in our work. I want to thank you for taking the effort on this and also the lead on this and putting in all the effort. And also I want to acknowledge that the publicly owned utilities have been working with us and the co-ops over the last, I think it's been 6 months since we approved the plans last December in 2020. And we are looking forward to that, having more information and streamlining the process to make it as easy and transparent as possible, but also, as you outlined, comprehensive. So I wanted to acknowledge that Barry Moline and his constituency has really worked hard on sorting out what the board's statutory obligations are and how we approach that. Because for those of you in the public who may not know, this is something directly under our authority where we issue these advisory opinions, and not the same, it is not the same as the recommendations that we give to the Office of Energy Safety that goes through their process. We're the only process in the review of these WMPs. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is very important. And I would like to speak for all of us. We will definitely fill the absence of you, and you're killing me. I'm killing myself now. I can't. Yeah, no, I was gonna say Chair Edwards. We definitely will miss you. And thank you for all the support that you've given us and guidance. We wouldn't be who we are today without both of your leadership. So thank you. And with that, I want to pass it right back to you so that we can continue our hearing.
Thank you very much. I think I'm going, did anyone else have any comments? Any board members on the POUs? And I want to personally thank Board Member Armstrong for stepping up into that BK, because it is really important and extremely interesting to learn about how over about 20% of the load in California is addressed. So thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, sure. It's and thank you, Vice Chair Feldman. Your absence and Chairperson Edwards is gonna be felt by the whole board in this process. We're gonna be running short until we get some new appointments, as well as we review these 50 wildfire mitigation plans. Or just recalling last year, the heavy lift that was to go through all of those, and it's not going to get any easier. So a lot of work ahead of us. Look forward to the challenge, and again, thank you for everything you've done for this board. It's going to be missed.
Thank you, and it's certainly been an honor and a privilege to work with all of you, and I'm kind of smiling because we had to do this through COVID. I think back to our January 11th, 2020 meeting, or January, whatever it was, and then definitely the March 11th, 2020 meeting when we met in person. What were we thinking? And we've gotten to know one another through this period of pandemic, and also through the limitations of the BKs. And we've had really great success in meeting our statutory obligations, and it could not have been done with each and every one of you making a contribution based on your particular expertise. And that's what makes this board so great and relevant. So thank all of you. And since we're on this topic, I'm going to flip our order a bit and ask that we address the issue of who will be leading the organization. We do have 2 vacancies that need to be filled. And the thought is, while we are waiting for those appointments to be made, these are governor office appointments, that we would appoint, we would elect an acting chair, because we do not know who the appointments will be. And once those are made, then the entire board can evaluate who should be the best, who can serve best as chair and vice chair. However, we do have a member of our board who has been very active over the last 6 months in our executive Bagley Keene group. Board member Porter has just joined that group, but Jessica Block has taken a active interest in the administration and future of the board, not just the details, but also the future vision of the board. So she has been participating as the executive BK, and Jessica, thank you for doing that. And it would be my recommendation that Jessica Block, our board member, be designated and elected as our acting chair. Are there any thoughts or a motion to that effect?
Chair Feldman, first off, I didn't know we were doing this at this time, but I do want to take a moment before I make a nomination to thank you for your service to this committee. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the guidance that you provided myself. I'm an engineer, and you've helped me to be able to provided the modem to be able to translate engineer speak into a kind of speak that can sometimes make an impact in the regulatory world. And so I can't tell you how much I appreciate that expertise that you brought, you and Marcy, because us engineers, we're a strange breed. So I really appreciate that. And knowing that the leadership that you provided, as well as Chair Edwards, is going to be tough to fill. I am confident that Board Member Block will be able to provide that leadership And for that reason, I would like to nominate Board Member Block to be the acting chair of this committee, or this board. Thank you.
Is there a second? Board Member Porter?
I'd like to second that, that motion.
And before we have a vote, I'm going to take the chair's privilege and thank Board Member Mader for those kind words. And I want to let you know that in 1963, if I had been allowed to take drafting, I might have been an engineer, but girls weren't allowed. So I had to take home economics instead. And so that's how I started my path to becoming a lawyer instead of an engineer. Board Member Block, do you have any comments you want to make before we take the vote?
Sure. I'm deeply honored by your vote, everyone's vote of confidence that I can fill this acting role. I've been deeply grateful for all of the guidance and collaboration I've had with everyone on the board, including Chair Edwards and Vice Chair Fellman. And for you two chairs, those are really big shoes to fill. So you haven't heard the last of me. I'll be reaching out to you when you leave. I also want to say that I will do my best to represent everybody and try to fill your shoes as best I can. And I also want to say that the rest of this board, board members Porter, Mader, and Armstrong, and Seifert, I mean, the seven of us I think, are a really special group. We've been working together really well. I thoroughly enjoy working with this board, and really glad to be continuing to work with you all. So those are the end of my comments.
Thank you so much. Ms. Stockton, will you call the roll for the vote, please?
Sure. Board Member Armstrong,
Aye.
Board Member Mader,
Aye.
Board Member Porter,
An emphatic aye.
Vice Chair Fellman,
Aye.
and Board Member Block.
Can-
Which I'm not quite sure.
I abstain. I abstain from my vote.
Okay. Okay. So that's four ayes and one abstention.
And let me note that that abstention was, for the record, was made with a blush.
I humbly accept. Thank you all.
And you will do
We'll put-
great.
We'll put the blush in the minutes.
Okay, thank you. All right, now that we have taken care of that, I'm going to turn to Ms. Haro to go over the technological changes and the transition issues for members of the public.
So on July 1st, the board transitioned to the Office of Energy Infrastructure Safety within the California Natural Resources Agency. And
excuse me 1 minute. Should we have Mr. Pierce put up the slides again? Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Haro.
Thank you.
Pardon.
So our website also changed and went live on July 1st. The board's new website is located on the Office of Energy Infrastructure Safety, and you can go through the OEIS homepage in order to access the board's webpage. We also ask everyone to sign up to the board service list to stay informed about the board's activities. So you'll get notified about draft recommendations and board meetings. You'll also be notified every time a stakeholder submits something to the e-filing docket system. But even if you file something in the docket system, you are not automatically signed up for the service list. So this is why we are recommending that members of the public join the service list to stay informed about the board's activities, recommendations, and upcoming events. So from the Energy Safety homepage, hover over the tab at Events and Meetings, and then click on How to Participate. Next, okay. So from there, choose a service list that you would like to subscribe to. The board has 2 service lists, the WSAB POU WMP service list and the WSAB IOU WMP service list. Then you must subscribe. You fill in your contact information and click the link in the confirmation email. So I'll pass the meeting back over to Chair Feldman.
Thank you very much. And again, if there are any questions or you have problems in transferring your, for members of the public and transferring your contacts through this new portal, you can reach out to our new general mailbox, which is, Catherine, tell me if this is right, wsab@energysafety.ca.gov. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you very much to everyone. We've reached the close of our meeting for participating in it. Again, I appreciate the kind words of my colleagues. I also want to call upon each of you, if you have any closing remarks that you would like to make about the board, the transition, the POUs, the IOUs. Is there anyone who would like to make some closing remarks? Seeing none, I want to again give special thanks to our advisors who we may not be seeing again in a public meeting. They are Leah Haro and Catherine Stockton, who are ACE analysts at the California Public Utilities Commission, and they will not be transitioning with us to natural resources. They are being loaned to the board. Catherine has been with us from the beginning, so thank you, thank you, thank you, Catherine, because as much as perhaps Chair Edwards and I had in formulating this, you were with us, and Jamie Ormond, your sister in creation, I guess I'll call her. I appreciated very, very much your efforts in working with me and puzzling through many, 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 many tangled problems. And, you know, on behalf of the entire board, you know, we would not be where we are today without you. And then Leah, you just stepped in upon Jamie's departure and seamlessly brought us to this point. And for members of the public, I want to acknowledge that Leah has been so instrumental and key in the transition to natural resources and helping make it as smooth as possible, because she was, I loved the way board member Mader put it, that I was the modem to translate. Leah was our modem to translate government bureaucracy ease into English so we could figure out what was going on and make sure we had the right support going forward. So I think that's it. Catherine, did you want to close out the meeting before we take a vote to adjourn?
Sure, thank you for those kind words. Finally, please stay safe. Your efforts will help all of Californians as we are still managing through this COVID-19 pandemic. The most important thing that you can do is to get vaccinated. Vaccines will help prevent death, protect against the most severe consequences of COVID-19, and they will protect the most vulnerable in society, like babies or medically fragile individuals. Everyone over the age of 12 is now eligible to get a vaccine. Please talk to your doctor if you're having any doubts or concerns and get medical advice. Please visit myturn.ca.gov for more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Leah, did you have any closing remarks that you would like to make?
I would like to thank Vice Chair Fellman and Vice Chair Edwards for their service. And I am deeply saddened that they will not be seeking reappointment because in joining providing support for the board over the past few months, I've worked very closely with them and the other board members, and in trying to facilitate the transition to CNRA, and they have been very dedicated to the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board, and they will be missed.
Thank you. What we are going to do now, board members, is in a minute, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the public session of the meeting. Let's take a break and then reconvene in our closed session, which will be discussing personnel matters that was publicly noticed properly for this day. Let's reconvene at 2 p.m. sharp. Do I hear a motion for adjournment? Board Member Porter, I saw one. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Board Member Block. Are there any objections to adjournment? Shake your heads no. Seeing no objections, we will now adjourn the public session of the meeting. And Mr. Pierce, you can stop the Zoom. So thank you very much.